Hey everyone, Mr. Toy here for a quick workshop on formatting your graph into your research paper. So if you made it to this point, I'm going to assume that you have found either a picture or a graph that you want to put into your paper. I'm going to assume you either took a snip of it, you saved it as a file image, or you just copied and pasted it. So I've copied mine. I'm going to paste it here into my text. And as you see, as soon as I did that, I created a huge white space. So even though this may change later, I want to initially just set it to either square, tight, or through for my wrap text setting. I prefer tight, keeps everything neat, even if my graph isn't a perfect square. Let's say it's a odd-shaped image. Tight will make sure that the text is right up against it. Notice that there's extra space here. I'll get rid of that. As far as sizing, which is our first step, we want it roughly between, let's say, less than half the width of your text is a good rule to follow. I would say if it is this large, it gets kind of hard to read your text of your paper. So I'd say around half is pretty decent. Anything larger than that, I try to avoid. Anything smaller also can be hard to read the graph then. Okay. Most important part, besides the graph, is making sure I have a title included so that way I can reference it later. So you go to Insert, Text Box. Mine says Draw Text Box. I think yours will give you options. I'm going to go ahead and title it Figure 1, so that way my text I can say as seen in Figure 1 and reference the data that way. I'm going to give it a quick title. I apologize, I know my keyboard typing is really loud. Okay, I'm also going to put the source in the same place. Source, and I'm going to treat it just like an in-text citation. And I'll do Smith, who's the author, period. If you didn't want to use the in-text citation, you do have the option of putting the whole MLA citation here rather than in your works cited. Since I have this source already in my works cited, I'm just going to reference that citation using an in-text citation. Same thing, same format you use in your paper. Okay, for yours, because the formatting may be off within your text box, you might have a funky space right here. Okay. If you do, what I recommend is selecting all the text within your text box, going over to paragraph, click on this little arrow which brings up advanced options for a paragraph, and I believe for you guys you have 10 points here. Make sure it's down to 0, make sure spacing for inside the text box, not for your whole paper, is at single. And we want to click this box, don't add space between paragraphs of the same style. If you follow all of those steps, you should have a condensed text box now. Okay. Now that I have my title and my source, I can line it up again with my graph. Try to get as close as possible. Now I'm going to group it with my image. So I hold down Select, and I click on the graph, and if that doesn't work, it might be because Word is finicky and wants you to not select on the text but on the box itself. So you might need to click on the outline so you have a solid line between your handlers, which are these circle squares that control the size. Hold down Shift, select your graph, right click, go to Grouping, Group, and voila, I have one solid object. Problem with this is it does get rid of your previous formatting, so we have to go back to Format, go to Text Wrap, select Tight again, and we are good to go. Okay, only thing that I would recommend checking at this point is everything is lined up. Again, you want to make sure it's not beyond the text, so I can click on my ruler, look at my right hand margin, make sure there's no empty spaces created. I'm good to go. I can reference it in the text, and we are done.